Dear brothers and sisters, please take a few minutes of your time today, as we have an extraordinary message to share with you all. Today, we will talk about an incredible experience involving one of the most famous actors of our time, Jim Carrey, and how a simple prayer can radically transform our lives. Stay with us until the end of this video, because what I am about to share with you might change your perspective on prayer and faith in a profound and lasting way. Have you ever wondered what the true power of prayer is? Perhaps you have underestimated it. Perhaps you haven't always believed that your words directed to heaven can truly make a difference. Yet, the story I am about to tell you proves exactly the opposite. In December 2014, Jim Carrey appeared on BBC One's The Graham Norton Show, along with other famous actors like Jeff Daniels and Jude Law. During the show, while talking about his role in the film Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, the host asked him an intriguing question. Had he ever wished to relive a particular memory from the past? And it was at that moment that Jim Carrey shared a surprising story that made us deeply reflect. Carrey shared an anecdote from his childhood, an episode involving an Irish teacher in the 2nd grade. This teacher had told her students, "When I want something, I pray to the Virgin Mary and ask her to ask God for it. I promise something in return and get what I want." Imagine the scene. A young Jim, full of hope and trust, deciding to test this advice. Desiring a bicycle, Carrey went home and prayed to the Virgin Mary with all his heart. 2 weeks later, while walking through the living room, he found a brand new Mustang bike. Confused and amazed, he asked his parents, "What is this?" The answer was even more surprising. "You won it in a raffle." Jim later discovered that a friend had entered a raffle at a sporting goods store, writing Jim's name as well. Without knowing it, he had become the lucky winner of that bicycle.
2 weeks later, I walked into the living room and there was a brand new Mustang bike with a banana seat and chopper handlebars sitting in the middle of the living room. And I said, "What's this?" And they said, "You won it in a raffle." And it turns out I won it in a raffle.
Dear brothers, this episode from Jim Carrey's life teaches us a fundamental lesson about the power of prayer and faith. Often, we live our lives underestimating the potential of a sincere prayer, forgetting that, as Jesus told us, faith can indeed move mountains. Remember when Jesus said, "If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you." Jim Carrey's testimony is not unique. It was not just a simple memory from the past. Jim Carrey has spoken about the gospel and faith on multiple occasions. As many of us know, despite his success and fame, Jim Carrey has faced numerous personal and professional challenges. His battle with depression has been well documented, and through it, he found strength in spirituality and the search for a deeper meaning in life. In 2015, Carrey's life was marked by a personal tragedy: the loss of his girlfriend, Catriona White, who died of an overdose. This devastating event led Carrey to reflect even more on human suffering and the relationship with God. In various interviews, Jim has spoken openly about his suffering and his search for spiritual comfort. In a particularly touching speech, Carrey said, "Suffering leads to enlightenment. If you face suffering and try to understand it, it can lead you to a deeper awareness of your existence and the meaning of life." His words resonated deeply with many, showing that even in the darkest of times, there is always a light we can find through faith and prayer.
And ultimately, I believe that suffering leads to salvation. And in fact, it's the only way. That we have to somehow accept, not deny, but feel our suffering and feel our losses, and then we make one of two decisions. We either decide to go through the gate of resentment, which leads to vengeance, which leads to self-harm, which leads to harm to others, or we go through the gate of forgiveness, which leads to grace. And your being here is an indication that you've made that decision already. You've made the decision to walk through the gate of forgiveness to grace, just as Christ did on the cross. He suffered terribly, and he was broken by it to the point of doubt and a feeling of absolute abandonment, which all of you felt. And then there was a decision to be made. And the decision was to look upon the people who were causing that suffering, or the situation that was causing that suffering, with compassion and with forgiveness. And that's what opens the gates of heaven for all of us. So I wish that for all of you. I wish that for myself. I know that, no matter what I've suffered, most of you have suffered worse than that. But that's why I admire you, because you're here, and you will have grace because this decision has been made. So I'm so glad to be with you and to be a part of this. Thank you, Father Greg. Thank you, John.
Prayer is not just a ritual. It is not an empty gesture. It is an act of faith, a bridge that connects us directly to the heart of God. And God, in His infinite love and mercy, always listens to the sincere prayers of His children. It is important to remember that prayer is not a list of requests, but a deep and personal dialogue with our Creator. It is a moment when we open our hearts, share our joys and concerns, and listen to His voice guiding us. Often, in the rush of daily life, we forget to stop and turn to God. Yet, as Jim Carrey's experience shows, even a simple and spontaneous prayer can lead to incredible results. It is not the complexity of the words that matters, but the sincerity of the heart. I am reminded of the story of Hannah, the mother of the prophet Samuel, who fervently prayed to God for a child. Although her prayers seemed unanswered for many years, Hannah continued to pray with faith. And in the end, God answered her pleas, giving her a son who would become one of Israel's greatest prophets. This shows us that persistent prayer, made with faith, is powerful and can bring miracles into our lives. Now, I invite you to reflect on your personal experience with prayer. Have you ever had a moment when, praying with all your heart, you felt a tangible response from God? Perhaps you have experienced a great or small miracle, an inexplicable coincidence, an inner peace that surpassed all understanding. I would like you to share these experiences with our faith community, because your stories can inspire and strengthen the faith of others. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss upcoming videos where we will continue to explore the power of prayer, faith, and hope. Together, as a community, we can grow in our faith, encourage each other, and witness the greatness of our God. Remember, brothers and sisters, that God is always near, ready to listen to our prayers and respond in the most surprising ways. Never stop praying, believing, and hoping, because with God, everything is possible. May God bless us all.